Welcome to Research Proposal class, and our focus today is going to be on operational definitions. Prior to working on the operational definitions, it's very important for you to really focus on what the concepts and variables are that you have in your research questions so that you can keep those as the ones that you really clarify for your reader. So if you think about three circles, with the inner one being those things that are directly related to your research questions. If you look at your research questions, just highlight the words that are in there or make a list of those. You could put them on this kind of a diagram and really identify the participants, the settings, the key concepts that you're studying, the variables if it's quantitative, those kinds of things, so that you really operationalize the definitions that are related directly to your research questions. In your lit review and maybe in your background information, you'll have some concepts that are related to your study and related to your research questions, but that aren't quite central to those. And you don't need to have the definitions for those in the operational definitions. They might show up, of course, in your literature review, but you don't need to have them specific for what your study is about. They are what the background is about, so that you're going to differentiate what your variables and definitions are for your actual study. And then if we think more globally, lots of times there's things out there that we feel are going to be impacted by the study you're doing, but aren't really on target for this study that you're actually involved in. And it's easy to get sort of drifted away from what your study is about and including some of those more peripheral concepts, but you want to stay very focused on those that are actually in your research questions. So what are operational definitions? Well, first of all, their purpose is to bring clarity both to you, so you know what exactly that you're studying, as well as to your reader. It sort of guides your path for the study, and then it helps the reader understand what it is that you're actually studying. We've talked about that they should be from the research questions. The difficulty lots of researchers have is that they don't have to be theoretical definitions, or they don't have to directly come from the literature. They are very specific to your study. So for instance, if you are going to be measuring a certain concept, let's say self-efficacy, you might have a tool that measures that, and so your definition would say that self-efficacy is defined as the person's concept of their own strengths and abilities as measured by this scale. And so it's not the theoretical definition as much as how it relates to your actual study. Other examples, if we think about them, or how they distinguish each other from the literature, is that in your literature review, you might have numerous definitions of the concepts. So other researchers and other experts might have defined the same concept that you're studying in various ways. And they might be theoretical, they might come from conceptual models, they might even come from a dictionary, but of course not just directly related to like Wikipedia. While on the other hand, the operational definitions are related directly from your research questions. They may be found in the literature, but they may not be. And most commonly, there will be a few of them that you're going to have to create. And specifically those about the settings and who your participants are, those are always going to be specific from your study and not a literature review one. So in this instance, we have master's degree students. This is the research question, and if we pick out some of the key words that are going to need to be defined, we can see it's a concept analysis assignment, how critical thinking develops, master's degree students, and an online lit review course. So for each of those variables or concepts that are in the research question, we're going to have to define those. So let's take, for instance, the development of critical thinking. And if we drop down to that second example, if we say it's the perceptions of their own critical thinking skills, and define it as a self-report using a Likert survey about their own critical thinking after an assignment, then that's specific. It's not a definition of what critical thinking is. You can include that as a theoretical definition along with this one, but and sometimes you'll have even a sub definition that follows this specific one, but you do want to make sure that you develop these specific for your study. So you will want to spend some time. You can go into the literature. You can create your own definitions from the theoretical ones that are there. You know, many times you need to synthesize it yourself. And then you'll want to continue to edit and revise Chapter 1, including those operational definitions there, or sometimes they'll be in Chapter 2 or occasionally in Chapter 3. But for this assignment, we're going to have you do them right with your research questions so that you are clarifying for yourself what your study is going to stay focused on. Next steps for us will be to have you schedule a meeting with the faculty, and then following that with the doctoral committee chair on Chapter 1. So first of all, if you will schedule an appointment with the faculty person, myself, and then once we have had that discussion, then you can do some more revising and editing about the purpose statement, problem statement, research questions, and now including the operational definitions. Let me know if you have questions, and we'll dig in depth into your research in Chapter 1. Thanks.